Little Drummer Boy, Peace on Earth, Bing Crosby, David Bowie one. Doc was Bing Crosby and I was David Bowie.
I moved up, I was Bing Crosby.
Rum-a-bum-bum.
See, Doc?
Get one of these. Why did I get one? Oh, are these from you?
Call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here?
Here.
Here?
We have our Pledge of Allegiance followed by invocation, followed by a Pledge of Allegiance. Invocation by Councilman Sherman Saunders. I ask everyone to please stand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. God, for those who may agree, this is the season and time in which we recognize the birth of your Son, one who will show us how to live in a manner that is pleasing to you, one who teaches love, respect, understanding, and yes, God, forgiveness. We are living in a most unusual time. Diseases and health care, law enforcement and safety, violence and fear in many of our schools, for some, despair. You, God, can control and rid all of these fears. We ask that you do so. Please bless your children everywhere. Please bless our city and all of our servants, the people that you have put in place to help others, and our city employees, all 1,100 of them, which certainly include public safety, law enforcement, their families, and the 40,000 plus citizens who live here, as well as the 100,000 plus individuals who work and visit our city every day. Please forgive us of our sins and those things that may have been displeasing to you. These blessings we ask in your name and for your sake. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, good evening to those of you who are here in chambers and those who are viewing us River City TV or at home this evening. Season's greetings to everyone. We invited Mr. David Decker, one of our partners. He's going to come forward and tell us a little bit about the Knights of Columbus and all the great work that they have done in our community. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is David Decker. I'm Financial Secretary of the Knights of Columbus and the Danville Council.
And if you want to take your mask off, feel free. It's up to you.
I didn't know if it was hard to hear me or not. Anyway, our principles are charity, unity, and fraternity. And one of the things I want to talk about is the charity that we have in our community that we've done. We have, of course, we support the Catholic churches. We're a Catholic men's organization. Also the Catholic school and youth group. We supported the Cops for Kids, Haven of the Dan, House of Hope, Sherman Saunders Court. It's a VA disabled organization. Pregnancy Solution that's up on North Main, and the SNAP program, and COVAR. With COVAR, we sent a donation to them, and it's through the state, and the state has sent us back $15,000 to use in 2 homes for disabled, and also Coats for Kids.
Last week you were at Salvation Army. Can you tell us the numbers that you give out with toys and everything that you're giving out last week? You have those numbers?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Well, last year was just amazing. Last week, they gave out numbers of toys and so many monies out to our community. He mentioned the Sherman Saunders Court, which is an apartment complex on Upper Street, where they also support it. We just wanted to say thank you so much for all that you all do in the community. It's very much appreciated, and I'm going to yield to council members at this time. Councilman Buckner.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank you for all the great work that you guys do in our community. We see you everywhere. We see your organization everywhere. You're omnipresent, and we really appreciate the things you do for our citizens.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Campbell.
Yes, we really appreciate it. I understand very how hard and difficult and the work that it takes to do what you're doing. We appreciate it, and I just pray to God will open up the windows of heaven and pour out the blessing unto all of your workers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Mayo.
Hear this, all y'all done. Thank you. We want to thank you from our hearts and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Councilman Vogler.
They've all said it so wonderfully, but thank you so much. It goes without saying, and I'm glad that you mentioned a lot of the things because I think folks don't realize just how much you do. So thank you.
Councilman Saunders.
Thank you, sir, for all that you do.
Councilman Saunders, pull your microphone down to you, Councilman Saunders. Thank you.
Thank for all that you do, for the love that you show, and thank for being a part of our community.
Councilman Hood.
Thank you so much for being of service throughout the city with everything you've done. Years ago, I was able to work with you all and put food boxes together. It was like a fine ran machine. So the dedication and desire that you have for the community is very much appreciated. We thank you, and Merry Christmas to you.
Dr. Miller.
Yeah, thank you. This city couldn't function without all the volunteer effort we have. It's just tremendous, and there's just not enough monies and personnel to do without the volunteers. Thank you.
Councilman Whittle.
Being, I guess, K through 9 at Sacred Heart, and then, of course, our family's been in the Catholic Church for
Make sure your mic is on, Councilman Whittle.
do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please tell all your team. We just so appreciate whatever you do. It's back to you.
I did forget to mention we had just a community market this past weekend. We did give out 216 what we call Christmas baskets, which was 2 big boxes of food and a bag of food to families in need in the county, in the community.
Well, we appreciate everything that you all do, and thank you so much for being one of the great partners in the city. Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas to you all.
Thank you very much.
Under communications from visitors, citizens who desire to speak on any matter that's not listed on the agenda may come forward this time. Is there anyone who would like to speak on any item that's not on the agenda? You may come forward this time. Under consent agenda, council, I open the public hearing. Anyone who would like to speak on any item that's on the consent agenda may come forward at this time. Anyone who would like to speak on any item on the consent agenda may come forward at this time. I close the public hearing. Councilman Campbell.
Mr. Mayor, I move for adopting the consent agenda B and C.
Is there a second? Second by Councilman Mayo. Discussion of the motion. Madam Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Hood?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Mayo?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Whittle?
Aye.
Under item A, consideration of imposing an additional general local sales tax and a local use tax at a rate of 1%. Council, what's your pleasure? Councilman Buckner.
Mayor, I'd like to renew my motion to approve, not this one?
Not on that.
Okay. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve an ordinance amending and reordaining certain section of Chapter 37 entitled Taxation of the Code of the City of Danville, Virginia by creating a new tax article XIII entitled Imposition and Additional Sales and Local Use Tax. Use of revenues for construction and renovating schools, and adding a new section 37-185 entitled Imposition and Additional Sales Tax Use of Revenues for Construction and Renovating Schools. Final adoption.
Second by Councilman Mayo. Discussion of the motion. Discussion of the motion. Madam Clerk, if you would, call the roll, please.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Hood?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Mayo?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Whittle?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Councilman Buckner, number 2.
Mayor, I'd like to renew my motion to approve an ordinance amending and reordaining certain sections of Chapter 37 entitled Taxation of the Code of City of Danville, Virginia, by amending Article 8 entitled Imposition and Additional Sales Tax of Local Use Tax, Use of Revenue for Construction, Renovation of Schools, by adding a new 37-186 entitled Imposition and Additional Local Use Tax, Use of Revenues for Construction and Renovation of Schools. Final adoption.
Second by Councilman Mayo. Discussion of the motion, Dr. Miller.
Yeah, just brief discussion. Today, I had a patient in and her daughter. And her daughter was a proud member of the 1965 GW Women's Championship basketball team. I think it's the last time the women won the state championship. She said she was dismayed. She'd been to GW, that's where she graduated, and how dismal the schools was, and she didn't think it was conducive to learning. And I was just happy to assure her with the passage of this referendum and the sales tax, that school is going to look like a different school in just a couple of years. You won't even be able to recognize it. And all these schools that we're going to be renovating, we've seen the plans. You're just not going to believe the change there's going to be. So thank you, citizens, for passing that referendum.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, if you mind, call the roll, please.
Mr. Hood?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Mayo?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Whittle?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Consideration of appointments to the following boards and commissions, Vice Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd like the council to consider appointments to the following boards and commissions: a resolution reappointing Lawrence Meter to the Building Code Board of Appeals, a resolution reappointing Samuel Thomas to the Building Code Board of Appeals, a resolution appointing Helm Dobbins to the Employee Retirement System, a resolution reappointing Matthew Bailey to the Fair Housing Board, a resolution appointing Manuel Dobson to the Planning Commission, a resolution reappointing Robert Petrick to the Planning Commission.
Second by Councilman Saunders. Discussion of the motion. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Mayo?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Whittle?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Hood?
Aye.
Michael, review of our general fund financials. Good evening to you.
City Council. In your packet this evening, thank you. In your packet this evening, I believe you'll have the general fund financial results through the end of November, and I just have some brief comments on those for you tonight. November does mark our 5th month of the fiscal year. We are 42% complete at the end of November. Our revenues continue to perform strong through the end of November. As you know, we are winding up our first collection period of real estate and personal property taxes. Those have been strong collections. Because of some timing differences, we actually collected more in November than last year. We actually had a couple more business days in November after Thanksgiving to be open for collection. And so if you're looking at a difference between last year and this year, that's one reason why this year is higher. But by the end of December, we'd like to be at least at 50% of our budget for current year real estate taxes. And right now, we are at 52%. We still have a few days left in this calendar year, so we're in a good position with real estate tax collections. Delinquent real estate tax collections are also very good. We completed a very successful auction of abandoned properties just a few weeks ago. All of those properties were purchased at auction, which is good. Those numbers are not reflected in these results, however, but we're still at 48% of budget for delinquent real estate tax collections. That's $515,000, so that's very good at this point. Personal property taxes also show good collection. We're just slightly above where we were last year. And looking at what we've collected through December at this point, we will definitely be at 50% or better at the end of the calendar year. Our local consumer taxes are also performing very well. Sales tax was at $4.4 million at the end of November. That's 44% of budget, so a little bit ahead of our budget, about $366,000 more than last year at this time. Meals tax is really performing well. We're at $4.1 million. That's 48% of budget, so nearly half of our budget has been realized at the end of November. That's an increase of $812,000 over last year. Lodging taxes also, smaller numbers, but the difference is great. $948,000 at the end of November. That's 63% of our budget and $281,000 more than last year. So our consumer-driven local taxes are really performing well this year. All of our state and federal revenues are on target with budget, so I have no concerns there. Moving on to expenditures, our departmental expenditures were at 38% of budget, so trailing our budget, which is where we like to see them through the year. Our non-departmental expenditures, which is primarily our debt service and our group health premiums, are both right on target at 42% of budget at the end of November. So at this point, I have no concerns about our general fund, and things look very positive. Just a few other things in the finance department to make you aware of. We are completing our traditional general obligation bonds issuance this coming week. Next week, we will close on the 29th of December. The interest rate we were able to secure this year for that borrowing was just at 1.8%, so it's a pretty good interest rate for the borrowing this year. After the first of the year, we'll begin shifting our focus to the school bonds that will be funded by that 1% local sales tax option. So we'll be working closely with the school board in determining the amount and the cash flow needed, and we'll be working on that very soon. With regard to our annual audit report, I mentioned in the past that has been delayed because of some external reports that we needed to complete. They do not really impact our general fund financial results. What I've reported to you will not change. These were related to our actuary statement, related to our retirement plan, and those things were delayed this year. And we have to have those in order to complete the footnotes and those type things for our audit report. So I anticipate that Brown Edwards, our external auditor, will be here by the end of January to present that to you. On a good note, the actuary report for our retirement system showed that we are still well-funded. We're still above 100% funded in our retirement system, so that's very good. And that's all I have for this month, Mayor, unless there's other questions.
Questions? Again, thank you so much for a great report. Madison?
So we had an auction of some property, and that was not necessarily in here. How much was that?
I mean, the proceeds from that auction? I don't have a total with me tonight, but I can tell you that there were about maybe 15 parcels that were up for auction. They were all purchased. They were all purchased for more than the tax assessed value and for more than what was owed to the city. So we were able to satisfy all the delinquencies for those parcels.
No, it was typical for the last auction we had, too.
The last two auctions have been very successful.
Good.
It's very unusual leading up to this point that we were able to sell everything, but that has been the case with the last two auctions.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Under consideration of official intent to reimburse expenditures with proceeds of a borrowing. Council, what's your pleasure? Council, what's your pleasure? Councilman Buckner.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve consideration of an official intent to reimburse expenditures with proceeds of a borrowing.
There's second. Second by Councilman Mayo. Discussion of the motion. Madam Clerk, call a roll, please.
Mr. Mayo?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Whittle?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Hood?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye. Consideration of amending Chapter 1.5 of the Danville City Code to conform to Senate Bill 1157. Councilman Buckner.
Mayor, I'd like to renew my motion to approve an ordinance amending and reordaining the Code of the City of Danville, Virginia, 1986, as amended, to add a new Chapter 1.5 entitled City Council Elections and Organization Meetings, School Board Elections, etc.
Second by Councilman Saunders. Discussion of the motion. Councilman Saunders.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know about this issue very, very well. Last year, there were talking plans of an election being in November. And as a member of Virginia First Cities, representing the city of Danville, I opposed it, and the board did as well. Also, we asked VML, the Virginia Municipal League. They also opposed it. So in terms of being November, for a number of reasons, nonpartisan, and the list goes on, the General Assembly makes that decision. We have no choice to do what they say once the governor signed the bill. The governor did sign that bill. However, he moved the election from May, the first Tuesday in May, to the 20th. That's what's happened. This year, I cannot see any change at all. I, too, am concerned about what this means for local government. I think that Danville local government, city council elections, around 10 or 11,000 votes average. The November election, national, you're looking at 30, 40, 50 plus. 30,000 votes plus. So we do not want to get lost in national election And yes, politics is involved in everything. So I think that while I like May, I prefer May, but we have no choice. This is the law. We cannot change it. So, Mr. Mayor, I support it.
Thank you so much. Councilman Vogel.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And we discussed this at length in the last meeting, so I'll just make this brief. And and Councilman Saunders just alluded to it, in last year's election in 2020 for Councilman Saunders and I and the others who were up, our election got moved around and talked about moved around 3 or 4 different times. And, I think May is better, but at the end of the day, whether it's May, November, January, or next week, if I decide to run again in a few years, I'll run whenever it is. That's just what will happen. But the point that I think some of us were trying to make in the last meeting is that we feel strongly that this decision should ultimately be left to localities and not the General Assembly. Now, unfortunately, it's probably too late for anything to happen this year. Even if the General Assembly overturns it, it wouldn't take effect until after when the May election would be. So it's too late. But a funny thing happened in the last couple of weeks after we did what we did. I got texts and phone calls from General Assembly members, not just from our area, but actually from around the state, saying, thank you for doing what you did because you brought this conversation back up, and it'll make it much easier for it to be revisited during the General Assembly this year. So, and some other localities said, shoot, I wish we had thought to do that. So this issue will be revisited and ultimately may come back to localities. But whether it's in May or November, it should be up to localities. But at this point in time, it's too late to really do anything about it for this year. But I think we have proven our point and made the statement, and so the issue will be discussed again at the General Assembly, in large part because of what we did 2 weeks ago. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, we've had a discussion on this at the last meeting, and Council, we can do this again if you want to. I see hands going up, so I'll do what you want me to do, but we've already discussed this. But Dr. Miller, then Councilman
Yeah, I think it was symbolic what we did because the vote in the General Assembly was a tie vote and broken by the Lieutenant Governor. Unfortunately, the governor saw fit to sign it. So, as Councilman Vogler says, there's not a lot we can do about it right now. But let's hope it's brought up again and reverts back to control of where it should be with the local jurisdictions. Thank you,
Councilman Whittle.
So it's my understanding it was the localities vote. Clark? It was up to us to vote to whether we wanted to do it or not. It was my understanding in the beginning.
What the General Assembly said is localities shall vote to adopt an ordinance to move their elections to November. So it's kind of weird. They didn't just move them to November. They said localities shall vote to do that, and that's what.
So if we shall vote and we vote no, then
I got a lot of research to do.
Thank you. Thank you both. We've had a discussion on this. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Miller,
So, an aye votes for this resolution to change it. Is that what we're saying?
Aye vote is for this resolution. The resolution is on the floor to Councilman Buckner made an ordinance to amend reordaining the code of the City of Danville, Virginia, 1986 as amended to add a new chapter 1.5 entitled City Council Elections and Organizational Meetings, School Board Elections, etc. That's what's on the floor. You vote yes, it passes. Vote no, it doesn't. Dr. Miller, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
That's correct.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Miller,
No.
Mr. Saunders?
Yes.
Mr. Vogler?
No?
Mr. Whittle?
no.
Mr. Buckner?
Yes.
Reverend Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Hood?
No.
Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Mayo?
Yes.
Mr. Attorney,
5-4, it passes.
passes. Under Communications, City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of things tonight. First, with this being the last City Council meeting of the year, I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the employees of the City of Danville to thank Council for your support of all the employees and what we do every day to try to serve our community. We always feel like we're supported, that the City Council is behind us when we're out there serving the public, and we appreciate that. In addition, I'd like to offer my appreciation to my coworkers who I work with, of course, on a daily basis, from department heads to everyone throughout the organization. I really feel blessed to work with some great, competent people who are doing a great job on behalf of our community, and I appreciate them. And I thought with the end of this year and all the challenges we've had and what we've been working through, it was appropriate to express my appreciation to them for all that they're doing. So thank you for the opportunity to say that, and to all of my coworkers who happen to be watching, thank you so much for what you do, and I appreciate you so much. In addition to that, I'd like to announce Amanda Paez is an employee of the city manager's office. Everyone knows Amanda. She's spoken to you on a few occasions, and she's with us today, so I'll ask Amanda to stand up. A few months ago, Amanda, Earl and I, the deputy city manager, and a few of us were talking about how the organization needed to have an equity officer. And this position it's a position that a lot of local governments are taking on, because we want to make sure that we're being as proactive as possible, examining the policies, the procedures, the services that we have to ensure that we're keeping a good eye on our diversity, equity, and inclusion with all of those areas. So it was after a lot of discussion among staff members, the mayor and I had a few discussions. We felt it appropriate to appoint an existing position, the assistant to the city manager, Amanda Paez, to the equity officer position. As a member of the city manager's office, she has the ability to independently review all the departments to ensure that they are following the best practices when it comes to those areas. So we feel she has got a master's degree in public administration, a lot of experience. She's been with the city for longer than I have. I think it was 12 years or so, 13 years. So she's been with us for a long time, has done a great job for us, and I felt like she would be an appropriate person to lead this effort on behalf of us.
Since Ken is moved out the way, I'm gonna ask your husband to come and join you now. Is he here? We can see him smiling behind that mask. You want to introduce him to us?
This is my husband, Michael.
Welcome, sir.
He did not know he was going to be called up here this evening. I just wanted to say how extremely excited I am to be here tonight and to lead our organization's diversity, equity, and inclusion program. Our 2020 All-America City designation was based on health equity, how our community recognized the problem, assessed the issues in data, and tackled it in a comprehensive way to improve outcomes. I plan to approach our city's DEI efforts in a similar way. Since this is new territory for our organization, the plan is to start internally and let the program grow. This can involve assessing each city department to determine if services provided or policies impact different groups differently. It can also mean taking a hard look at how we engage our employees, recruit new employees, and foster an organizational culture where public servants feel valued while serving the community at the highest level. I look forward to keeping you all updated on this program.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
We're excited. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed talking to you yesterday, too. And, sir, congratulations to you and your family. Thank you. Because that means he gets a great Christmas present. Back to you, City Manager. Anything else?
I wanted to also add that, in addition to everything else she does, she has been recently taking a lot of training when it comes to this particular position. There is a certification program, and we're trying to get her into that program so that she can be officially certified. And we would have loved to be able to say she's certified now, but we didn't want to wait to make the announcement. So, but she's independently taken a lot of training, and will continue to be trained on this subject. So thank you
so much. Thank you. City Attorney.
Yes, like Mr. Larking, I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you all for your support of our office. We're very thankful to be working for this council. I'm also very thankful for the collegial relationship that I have with the manager's office and with all the department directors. We really do have a strong team. And so I'm proud to be a part of that. I'm proud to be here in Danville, and I want to wish you all and your families, as well as everybody watching on television, a very Merry Christmas and the best blessed New Year they've ever had.
Same to you and your family. City Clerk.
Nothing, sir.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Saunders?
Thank you. I'd like to thank Dr. Angela Harrison for all she's doing for our school system. Absolutely. And she's one of our own who has come back home. Also, I want to say Merry Christmas to our mayor, council members, staff, and all of our citizens and their guests. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Vogler?
Yeah, first, I just want to wish a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all of our citizens, our city employees, and each and every one of you on council, and mayor and vice mayor. I enjoy working with each and every one of you, and I'm excited about this upcoming year. It's going to be a great one for our city. Just one thing I wanted to talk about tonight that I think is very important, and that is taking care of our senior citizens in Danville and doing right by them. In 2001, the city of Danville implemented a real estate tax relief program for senior citizens, which was a good thing. The tax relief option was capped at $20,000 for household income, which is a pretty low margin. But that low amount was in 2001 dollars. And so it's easy to understand that $20,000 in the year 2001 is quite a bit different than $20,000 in the year 2021. And as we all know, the cost of living has increased substantially just in the last year alone. In 2001, the average gallon of gas was $1.37. This year, it was $3.48. In 2001, a loaf of bread was 98 cents. Today, it's $1.55. 2001, the average car cost $21,478. Today, it's over $30,000. The list goes on and on and on. I say all of this to get to this. I believe the $20,000 limit is too low for the current economic climate. Personally, I believe the amount should be doubled to $40,000, but at the very least, it should be adjusted to equal the rate of inflation from the last 20 years. Most localities in Virginia have a limit set much higher than ours. In Virginia Beach, it's $61,000. In Chesterfield County, it's $52,000. In Hampton, it's $53,000. Suffolk is $62,000. Montgomery County is $51,000. Even Martinsville has a limit higher than ours. Theirs is $27,500. We on council hear all the time from our seniors who are on fixed income how hard they're being hit by the rapid increase in inflation. And unfortunately, as a local government, there's not a whole lot that we can do about a lot of those things. But this is something that we can do something about. And I'm hoping we will look to address this in the coming months. We're about to begin a budget session. I hope this is something that we'll look at and we will address to look after not only our senior citizens, but those who are permanently disabled as well. I think it's past time. It's been 20 years since this has been looked at and addressed. So I hope that we will do that here in the next couple of months. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Whittle?
Christmas to everybody and to all a good night. I did have a question, though. If we voted on this thing in the last session, how do we vote on it again?
Robert's Rules of Order, if the meeting is, if a motion is disposed of in a meeting, in a subsequent meeting, it may be, the motion may be renewed to be brought back essentially on the table. Also, under the Danville City Code, you all are not limited to vote on anything, to bring anything up. So when you put the code together and Robert's rules, that's how we're able to vote on it again.
It's great to know that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's all I got.
Mr. Buckner?
Yeah, everybody's done a wonderful job saying what I'm about to say, but Merry Christmas to everyone. Mr. Larkin, I want to personally thank you and our whole team, 1,100 employees that do an excellent job for the citizens of Danville. Mr. Whitfield, your office does an amazing job. Sue, thank you so much. I hope you guys all have a very, very Merry Christmas and a very, very prosperous 2022. And I look forward to seeing what 2022 brings for our city. Hold on, because we're just getting started. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Reverend Campbell?
I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I thank God for the city of Danville and the residents and all the employees that serve our city. We are special. This has been an unusual, special year, even being a pandemic situation going on. I will suggest that we enjoy our families and just take each moment as a priceless moment, because nothing is given. And just enjoy the spirit of Christmas. This is the season of event. So I just want to say that this is special. We have a special city. We have a special council, special administration. So this makes this a special Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hood?
Oh, yes, I'd just like to say it's an absolute honor being of service for our city of Danville. I'd like to say thanks to my colleagues, council members, our honorable mayor, our vice mayor, our city manager, deputy city manager is not here, but Mr. Whitfield, our attorney, and Ms. Susan. And to our citizens, let's continue to encourage one another. Let's continue to thrive and get more involved with local government. We have a great city that's very transparent, that's laying things out on the line. So it's an absolute pleasure and an honor, and I take this duty to the heart with everybody. And I just want to wish all our citizens also a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Merry Christmas, like all said, to all a team here, as well as the whole city staff. And Amanda, congratulations on your new role. I had an opportunity to go to Westwood Middle School, Dr. Harrison, and had an opportunity to talk and get a tour by our assistant principal, along with a group of men who are engaging in the children. And we have some very good things that we're going to do in this coming up year in 2022. So I just want to let you know that we're with you, and you're doing a wonderful job. Last thing that I want to say is that I had a chance in my role at DCC. I get a call from a lot of citizens in reference to opportunities as well as help. I had a young man that called me today who was homeless, and I know we talked about the homeless and what we want to do to our citizens who are homeless. And I had the opportunity to help this young man find a place because he had nowhere to go. And of course, I want to tip my hat off to the House of Hope, Steve and his staff, for actually opening their doors at all times for our citizens who are homeless. And I want our citizens to know that if you know of anyone, or even yourself, you don't have anywhere to go, please contact our homeless shelter. Danville Social Service is also a intricate part of helping our citizens too. And we want our citizens to know that in regards of your situation, House of Hope is a place to go when you need a place to go. And social services provide that help also. And John Moody and his staff are doing an excellent job. But we want the citizens to reach out and knowing that the options are there, but only if it's one option is not there for you. Like House of Hope can get filled up sometimes, and social services is there to help and provide that. But citizens, we want you to be upfront with us about that. When the young man didn't want to choose one from another, but we got him on the right track, it's because we're more concerned about him staying somewhere, not where he wanted to stay. So just wanted to tip my hats off to the homeless shelter, House of Hope, as well as the Department of Social Service for allowing us to help. And citizens, if you need that help, please contact us. But when we have that place for you, we know that we're trying to look out for your best interest. So be honest and upfront, as well as and let us help you. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Yeah, we were talking about volunteers a while ago. I was working out in my basement the other morning. It was about 6:30 in the morning. I was watching the Weather Channel, and lo and behold, in Kentucky, God's Pit Crew was there. They highlighted God's Pit Crew. They showed them helping the people suffer from the tornadoes. And there were just all kinds of God's Pit Crew there. And I said, wow, those guys are from Danville. So, we not only have volunteers here, but people that go to other places and volunteer and help out citizens in need. And I mentioned the lady basketball player. She also asked me, are we going to have a basketball tournament this year? And thanks to Councilman Vogler, the chairman, and other people, there's going to be a basketball tournament next week, the 27th through the 29th, the Harry Johnson basketball tournament. We didn't have it last year. It's come back. So I was proud to tell her that that's come back. And so that was another good thing I had to tell this lady, former GW graduate. And finally, my final report on COVID for the year. It's not even better than some of the others. The Omicron strain now is comprising 70% of the cases. It has just taken over. And, you know, it's much more contagious in the Delta, so many more people are getting it, just dozens of people. You can see what's happening in the National Football League. And, you know, it may not be as deadly, but, you know, just for sake of numbers, if, say, 1 out of 100 die of the Delta, but then Omicron comes around, it's 1 out of 500, but 10 times as many people contract it, you're going to get the same number of deaths or more. Right now, there have been, the reason of the week the people, I ask them why haven't you taken the vaccine, is because they've heard of deaths from the vaccine. Okay, there's been a few hundred, mainly from the J&J vaccine with thrombosis and so forth, and that was just around 100. That's out of, 100 million shots worldwide for that vaccine. There's been 880,000 deaths, American deaths, in the last 2 years from COVID-19. Almost 1,000 in our area. That's more than World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnamese War put together. In 2 years, we've lost more Americans in those 4 years put together, and almost as many, well, actually more than the Civil War, which is around 750,000 Americans died. So our only resource is get your vaccination, get your booster, wear your mask. Be safe. Have a happy holiday. Thank you.
Mayor Jones?
You've heard a lot of council members extend Merry Christmas to you all. What gift can we give you all? Councilman Saunders, your prayer, praying for the citizens and praying for all of our staff. The Bible said where 2 or 3 are in agreement. So when you were praying, I looked over at Reverend Furl. Stand up, Reverend Furl. Let us welcome you here. Reverend Furl was in agreement. Keep standing. And Mary Barnes, will you stand up? So you both were in agreement with the prayer that Councilman Saunders prayed. So that's a great blessing heading to our city. So thank you all so much for being here tonight. So Councilman Saunders, thank you for that prayer, because we talk about gift giving, and what better gift than a gift of prayer. Dr. Harrison, it's always great seeing you here this evening. David, thank you so much for all that you and the Knights of Columbus do for our community. It was just absolutely amazing. And as I close, as Dr. Miller stated, the Harry Johnson Tournament is coming back on the 27th, 28th, 29th. We partner with Danville Public Schools, the city of Danville, and so many partners in our community. And once again, you've heard it from every council member, but please, please, please go out and enjoy your family and your friends and those who are visiting you. And remember the prayer that was prayed tonight. If you're looking for a gift, or you don't have the monies that you need, you can always pray for someone. Just pray for them. And again, you've heard it 9 times. Merry Christmas to everyone. This meeting is adjourned.